Hi guys. Sorry to miss class this week. The last thing I want to do is not be able to see you guys on Friday. I wanted to talk about a few things in this video so that we can make sure we get the content from class. And number one is to finish up our conversation about immigration by talking about some of the new immigrants to Minnesota. And then I want to talk as well about the next topic, which we'll spend a brief amount of time talking about natural weather events and also earthquakes, which will be the first natural disaster we'll talk about. We'll talk a bit about layers of the Earth, and then we will also talk about your homework, the Explore Your Nearby World assignment. Okay, so let's get started with the PowerPoint. Okay, so today we're going to talk about Minnesota's new immigrants. So we've talked about different waves of immigration throughout U.S. history, and today we're going to talk specifically about the different immigrant groups in Minnesota. But let's start with talking about our Geography Minute for today. So the Geography Minute is about the world of sushi, and I thought this was kind of a neat map showing the origins of the different ingredients that make up sushi. So if you see that sushi roll in the middle of the map at the bottom, you can see that it's got kind of that red color in the middle. That's tuna, and all those different arrows point to the source of the different ingredients that make up that sushi roll. So the white dots or circles are rice, and the green dots or circles are the seaweed that make up the outside of the sushi roll. They've also got in blue the percentages of fish that are caught in different parts of the world. So you can see that 8.6% are caught in the Indian Ocean of fish, 20% in the Atlantic, and about 70% in the Pacific. And of course, knowing what we do about the world's ocean, this makes sense because the Pacific Ocean is about 165 million square miles, whereas the Atlantic Ocean is just a quarter of that, about 40 million square miles. So in the Indian Ocean, even smaller. So it makes sense that that would be kind of the distribution of where fish are caught. A few other things about the map. On the bottom left, you can see a key that shows the tons of fish caught. So I think that's metric tons of fish caught. You can see that the leader in the world looks like China, followed by India, the U.S., Southeast Asia. Looks like Chile there, even. And so, obviously coastal places are going to catch more fish than non-coastal, places. So we see, Central Eastern Europe or Central Africa, not a lot of fish caught there, right? So I thought this was kind of a neat map, and they have little descriptions too of some of the different fish used in sushi as well. So that's our Geography Minute for today. A quick check-in. The Explore Your World assignment is due next week, and I do want to point out, I'm going to ask you guys to share and present a little bit about where you went. Let's take a look at that assignment real quick. Here it is. Be aware that what is due next week, March 10th, is the pictures or drawings you made, the notes you took while you were there, and the essay that consists of somewhere between 3 and 6 paragraphs. And you can just go back to your assignment or look here, pause the video and look here to make sure you've got everything. But there are quite a few things to bring next week to fulfill that assignment, and I'm looking forward to hearing you guys share. Okay, so back to the PowerPoint. I'm sending you a link to a video containing a story of Hmong immigration to the United States told through Storycloth, which is a form of art produced by, among other people, by Hmong who've come to the United States, and it is pretty intuitive what that is. A storycloth is a story told through fabric, and they've done a neat thing in the video, kind of using complex storycloth to tell the really interesting story about Hmong and their journey to the United States. So I hope you enjoy that. All right. So the main thing we want to talk about in this video and for our class today is about the immigrant groups, new immigrant groups in the United States, but specifically in Minnesota. So as we look at this graph, it's pretty clear that the largest immigrant group is from Mexico, followed up by people from Laos, and so we see a little bit farther down on the list, fifth place is Vietnam. So Laos and Vietnam are where Hmong originate, also Cambodia. I don't think Cambodia is on this list, but we see we have immigrants from all over. So we have immigrants from Kenya, from Germany, from Russia, from Guatemala, from India. So from all over the world, people come to Minnesota, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Minnesota has a lot of opportunity, and also we've talked about how immigrant groups will tend to gather in certain places from wherever their friends or relatives had settled. So one family settles in a city, other families that know that family may settle there as well. So that's one of the dynamics we see in immigration. The next graph shows the percentage of, the numbers of foreign-born versus U.S.-born. Of course, in Minnesota we have 5 million U.S.-born people and about 500,000 or so foreign-born. That's split into non-citizen and citizen. So non-citizen might be green card holders or undocumented people as well, and then foreign-born who are citizens make up about half of the immigrant population here. So looking at the employment rate, pretty well tied between foreign-born and U.S.-born. So you see that the unemployed rate and not in the labor force are pretty well tied as well. So new immigrant, Minnesota's new Americans don't make as much as U.S.-born. You see that at the lower income levels, you have more foreign-born making that income, and at the lower or the higher income levels, you see more of the more U.S.-born people make that income. The disparity is maybe not quite as much as you would think. You've got at $75,000 or more, you have 23% of U.S.-born people making that, and about 19% of foreign-born. So not a giant disparity there, but definitely a difference. And the next one shows the distribution of the job market. So you see that more new Americans would work in manufacturing than do U.S.-born. While for educational services, healthcare, and social assistance, they're pretty well tied, and a lot of foreign-born people work in those industries. I know that one of the big immigrant groups of skilled labor immigrants are from the Philippines. A lot of nurses come from the Philippines to work in the United States and in Minnesota. If we look at education, so there is a disparity there for sure. You have many more foreign-born people with less than a high school degree and fewer U.S.-born people with that degree. So almost 26% have less than a high school degree of foreign-born people, and U.S.-born people just about 6%. And that matches pretty well with most waves of immigration. You have people who, when they come to the United States for the first time, tend to be less skilled and less educated, but over time, as generations pass, so the first generation might be less skilled and less educated, but the second generation will be more, and the third generation will be more or less on par. But you also see a lot of foreign-born, and this is interesting, a graduate professional degree, foreign-borns beat out U.S.-born people, right? So, and that makes sense as well, where you have immigrants coming here, highly skilled immigrants coming here to work as doctors or CEOs or whatever. So the next graph, that was the end. And the next topic, that is we are going to start a new unit, and it'll be a relatively brief unit, in fact, but I do want to talk about natural disasters and humans' response. One of the things we've talked about in class is the march of technology, and one way to think about technology is that technology has made it easier for people to guard themselves against the elements. Whether that's fire, the discovery of fire, leading to the cooking of food to kill bacteria in meat, or to keep one's home warm to ward off the cold weather, or whether that's the wheel that allows people to trade and to be able to have fresh vegetables or different goods, even if their particular climate doesn't grow those things. So, so technology in many ways is about sort of warding off the elements. And one one thing I'd like to talk about is how do people use technology to try to mitigate or avoid the effects of natural disasters. You know, anything from an earthquake to a hurricane to tornadoes. So, you know, usually the tornadoes are the sort of natural disasters we think about in Minnesota, maybe the occasional blizzard or something like that, or ice storm. So we're going to talk about that next time. And that is it for today. I thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you guys and hearing about your Explore Your Nearby World assignments next week.